I am back. Oh my goodness, my internet just like
Hey!
out. Oh my God. I was like, please come back, please. Oh man, because I cannot postpone another class. I got too much to do. All right. Any other questions before we get started? Y'all gonna have to make me talk fast tonight.
Nope.
No, we're good. Okay, cool. Cool. So we're gonna get into disputing. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see the presentation? It should say dispute to win.
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Everybody sees that? Okay, cool. No. Over here. All right, cool. So this is the 5-letter basic dispute strategy. We're going to go step by step in how to use each letter, what each letter is for, and why we're using them. Okay? Come on. Maybe I should come out of presenter view. All right, there we go. Okay. So step 1, LaKendra knows this. The first thing you do when you're looking at a credit report and you're going to start disputing is you're going to dispute the personal information first. The reason being is that the personal information is matched to certain accounts. So maybe some old debt, maybe some old collections are tied to an old address. If you clean up that personal information, it increases the chances of getting that negative item that's tied to that address to get deleted. Not only that, when you have a simple personal information section, it makes you look more credible, right? You don't have 10 different addresses, you've been moving around all your life, right? That makes you look unstable. You have all these phone numbers, you have all these addresses, you have all these different jobs, right? You want one name, your correct date of birth and social, one address, one phone number, one job. Okay, so for the personal section information, so they always tell you don't dispute online, right? Because you don't get the same type of results. However, for personal information, that's something you could dispute online, by phone, or by mail. Because again, all you're doing is saying, hey, I don't live there, delete it, right? So it's not a big deal to dispute it online, okay? So there's nothing to track. It's not a big deal. This is the only acceptable section to dispute online in this step. Okay. However, I still do them by mail because I want to be sure that it gets done, right? You can also fax them, but the credit bureaus changes their fax number all the time, so it's kind of hard to keep up with which number is working. And sometimes you got to stay up late at night to send them, in the middle of the night when it's not busy, to make sure that your faxes are going through. So that's why I tend not to use faxes, but faxes work as well. A lot of companies do that to minimize the work that they do, and you get a response quicker when you fax it or do it online than mail. Okay, but this section doesn't take long because all they're doing is, looking at addresses. So that's the very first step. Okay, so this is how the letter will look and what you're going to do in this step. So dear credit bureau, after looking at my credit report, and you can put whoever it is, TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. After looking at my credit report, I noticed errors with my personal information. Listed below are the problems with my personal data. List all the problems that you have, right? So whether it be an address, your date of birth is incorrect, the social number is inaccurate, you don't live at a particular address anymore, you want to remove a phone number, you want to remove a job, list all the problems you have. I know that you want proof of my personal information that is listed above, so I decided to include this information in the letter to make it easy for you to delete the inaccurate personal information. Please go ahead and fix this inaccurate information and get back with me as soon as possible. 30 days should be enough to fix this problem. If you can update me sooner, that would be better. Thanks in advance and don't work too hard. Again, we're being super nice, right? Not sounding like a big old, legal place, right? Not sending no legal letter or anything. Like sound like a regular person. Like, hey, thanks, just reaching out. Don't work too hard over there, but get my stuff done, right? So you're talking like a regular person, and that's how you want all of your letters to sound as well. All right, so that is the very first step. Now, this, I want you guys on the side. Keeps moving. Okay. Dispute letter 2 is going to be a basic generic dispute, okay? In this step, we're going to just let them know that we noticed there's some errors, right? We noticed some errors. We know you're supposed to fix them, so I'm writing you to let you know about them, and let's get this done, okay? So again, dear Credit Bureau, I hope your day is going well, but I need your help. I noticed the following issues with these accounts on my credit report. List the account number, the reason why you're disputing, right? Remember, we went over that long list of dispute reasons, right? The errors and inaccuracies that we look for, that's your reason, right? And then exactly what you want them to do. Do you want them to update the account, or do you want them to delete the account? What do you want them to do? The credit bureaus are not going to read your mind. They're not mind readers, so they're not going to know. I had people who just needed to update their name, and they wrote the letter the wrong way, and they couldn't even get their name updated, and it was inaccurate because they didn't tell the credit bureaus what they wanted them to do. They sent them all the information like, hey, this is wrong, this doesn't match, but they didn't say update it or change it. So the credit bureaus didn't do anything. So then they had to hire me just to do that. And I'm like, you just didn't write the letter right. So, you write the letter right and we got it done. Okay. So you need to include what you want them to do. Please delete from my credit report. Please update as pays as agreed. Okay. So you got to be clear on what you want them to do. Then you're going to say, hey, I did some reading on the internet about credit reporting laws. And from my understanding, if a consumer finds errors on their credit report, they have a right to have them fixed, right? I got this information from the FTC and the CFPB. This incorrect information on my credit report is causing problems when I try to apply for credit. Please investigate this matter and get back with me when you're finished. I hope this will be soon. Thanks. Again, super light, super polite, gentle, humble, just, hey, can you correct these problems when you get around to it? Look into it, investigate. It's my right. You're supposed to do it. Let's get it done, right? So you're telling them, hey, I know what's up, but you're not really doing it in like a legal, authoritative manner, right? So you don't sound like those templated letters that you find online. If you go online, it's like, oh, hey, how do I dispute blah, blah, blah. You're going to see, according to the FCRA under section 60, right? That's how they sound. And they're going to know automatically that's a boiler template from the internet, and they're going to ignore your dispute. It's going to go into a completely different section. Like I told you about the OCR computer scanner, and eOscar is going to recognize it, throw the dispute into that pile and not even investigate, and send you out a frivolous dispute response. And we don't want that to happen for our clients, right? We want effective results for our clients, okay? Dispute number 3, okay? So now we're going over how did you verify. So if they disputed on the, if they removed it on the first round, awesome. So after the second letter you just sent, they removed it, you move on to another item. If they verified it, you want to come back and ask them, well, how did you verify it? Just to start things off, 15 days should be enough time for your company to send me the information that I'm requesting regarding the last investigation you did on the following account listed below. List the accounts again, the ones that were not deleted. You verified this account pretty fast, and I have a simple request. What procedures does your company have in place to investigate accounts? Can you send me a copy of those procedures? Second, what data are you basing your verification off? Please send that to me also. I want to make sure you are following the law. 15 days should be enough, tracking all letters. I'm waiting. Now here, this is just another method of using basically the 609 method. So you'll hear that a lot in the industry, but 609 methods doesn't work because it again is a boiler template that has been seen a million times. Everybody writes a 609 letter. It looks the same. No one changes it. No one changes how it's worded, right? Everyone is saying, please send me verification of blah, 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 that, right? And it looks the same because they just took it off the internet or they took it from somebody they bought it from. And so they're not getting the results that they want. This is pretty much asking them for that verification proof, right? Send me what verification process you used. Who did you talk to, right? I want to know because I told you what was wrong with this account. You cannot simply have verified it if I pointed out what was wrong with it. Okay, so that's the purpose of this letter here. And that's your second letter to the credit bureaus regarding the investigation of the items that you found errors with. Dispute letter 4, okay? Here, you're going to dispute with the creditor now, okay? With the creditor. So your first 2 disputes with the credit bureaus, right? You update the personal information, send a general letter, and then how did you verify, right? I'm investigating these accounts. Here are the errors. Please correct them. Second, you're going to say, well, hey, you verified that pretty quickly now. I need to know what's going on over there. How'd you verify this? Okay. Now we're going to go straight to the creditor. So this is the package where you tell your client you're going to offer advanced dispute techniques by disputing with the creditors and your collectors. Okay. So here, you're going to go to the creditor, and this is under the FACTA law that I told you guys, a Fair and Accurate Transactions Act, where you can go to the creditor and send in an investigation. That's what this act allows you to do, to dispute directly with the original creditor. All right, I would like to investigate the account listed below as it is not reporting correctly on my credit report. You list the creditor name, the account number, okay? I disputed this account with all 3 credit bureaus. They responded to me stating that the account was verified by your company. This can't be correct. I'm asking for your company to investigate this matter and to correct this inaccurate account. From my understanding, this law, FCRA 623, allows me to contact your company and ask for an investigation. I await your response. Again, super simple. Tell them what's wrong, ask them to investigate, and that's it. Okay, so we're not threatening anybody, right? We're not getting all riled up yet, right? We don't get rah-rah until the next round, after you've disputed with the creditor and you want to come back to the credit bureaus. Okay? Dispute letter 5. Now we're upset. Okay? Now we're upset. So you're going to let them know that the original creditor, the furnisher of this information, the furnisher did not verify. That's the title of letter 5. The furnisher did not verify. Right? So you wrote to the creditor, who's the furnisher of this information. They either haven't responded or they weren't able to provide you with validation of the account. I'm very unhappy at the fact that there's inaccurate information on my credit report, and the creditor failed to submit sufficient proof to validate the inaccurate account. This is my 3rd letter to your company. I know the FCBA allows me to dispute directly with the creditor after disputing with you. Notate that line right there. I know the FCBA allows me to dispute directly with the creditor after disputing with you. That should say FCRA, sorry. After disputing with you. The reason why this is important is because some people go straight to the debt collector or straight to the creditor and try to send a debt validation or try to dispute with them thinking that that's going to get them results. If you don't dispute with the credit bureaus first, if they keep acting this way and don't delete the inaccuracy and you take it to an attorney and they're ready to file a suit and you didn't start with the credit bureaus first, you automatically lose. Automatically, you've lost your rights to damages and everything. So the step you must take first is dispute with the credit bureaus first. If you go to the creditor, they're going to send you where? To the credit bureaus. This information is reported with TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Go to them, write them, and ask them. That's what the creditor is going to say anyway. So that's why you start with the credit bureaus, and the credit bureaus reaches out to the creditor. You reach out to the creditor on the third round. Okay? After you've updated the personal information, after you've sent them a general dispute, after you've asked them how they verify, you go to, you send this out along with that one, okay? So you can send it at the same time, but it must be after you've initiated contact with the credit bureau. So what I do is I send the first letter to the credit bureau. If they come back and verify it, I now say, how did you verify? And then I also send a letter to the creditor at the same time. Make sense? Right? And then when the creditor doesn't respond, and now I go back to the credit bureau, I'll say, hey, Furnisher did not verify. Okay? You told me that you verified the account with the creditor, but they could not provide me with sufficient proof to back up their reporting. How can you verify if the creditor could not? What information did you use to verify the account? Please give me a detailed list of what you used to verify the accounts at hand. That is my right, and I'd like to know what you did. The law is very clear on this issue. If it is unverifiable, this is why we're asking for verification, because in the FCRA it says if it's unverifiable, then it must be deleted. This is why we're writing them this, because that's our grounds for getting deletion. Please delete these accounts from my credit report since your company did not properly verify the information and the creditor cannot provide sufficient proof to prove their reporting. List the accounts again, the account name, the account number, the reason, what you want them to do, and then you kind of go hard at the end. I hope we can resolve this issue without complaints to the CFPB and other agencies. And you're going to CC all those other agencies. So CC the FTC, CC the Attorney General's office, the CFPB, okay? Letting them know you know your rights and you're not playing any games. Okay? Those are the 5 steps so far. Any questions? Nope. Cool. All right. When the bureaus and the furnishers don't correct those errors, right? You sent your 5-step letters, start complaining. Go to the CFPB website. It's very easy to file a complaint on the CFPB website. Some people who are lazy as hell and don't want to follow the process go straight to the CFPB. If they know their errors and they go straight to the CFPB, because the CFPB is going to call them out. They're going to reach out to them and say, hey, this person is complaining that they have errors on their credit report. Are you going to look into this? Are you going to do something about it? And they don't want to get no lawsuit. They don't want to, risk getting in trouble. Okay, so you can start complaining. Go to the CFPB, go to the FTC, go to the Attorney General's office, right? File complaints with all those places. If there's really an error, that will get you heard very quickly. If they do not correct as well, you could settle for a deletion for a low price. So you can negotiate some of those accounts. I typically do them when they're on the lower end. When they're like thousands and thousands of dollars, I'm like, okay, no, because nobody have that money to dish out unless you're dealing with like a high power clients and they do have it and they're like, hey, I got 10K to resolve XYZ. And you're like, okay. You can do a pay for delete for a lot of collections. So for these, I do those for the lower price ones as well. If it's like $200 or less, I'm like, dude, just pay this, right? And you do a pay for delete. You'll get pay for delete templates, and you send it to the collection agency, and you ask them for deletion in exchange for payment. So you're like, look, I'm not saying this debt is mine. I'm not saying this amount is correct. What I'm saying is I want it off my credit report. And somebody gave me some money to handle this, and I want to handle this. So can you take this money in exchange for it being removed from my credit report, get them to sign it, And once they sign it, let them know a money order or cashier's check or whatever you're going to do for the client will be on its way. And most of the times they'll say yes. So you want to get it in writing, because when you say it over the phone, a lot of times they screw you. But when you get it in writing, you can send that letter into the credit bureau and get it removed when they agree to it. And then you can go to a consumer rights attorney and file a lawsuit on violations. There's attorneys waiting to sue the credit bureaus and these collection agencies, and they are really good. So again, these are not regular attorneys, they're consumer rights attorneys, and you can go to them. But again, have your files in order. That's why you want to keep everything organized. So they're going to ask you, what have you done? You're going to say, hey, I reached out to the credit bureau first. They verified it. I reached out to the creditor. They didn't submit any proof of verification. I went back to the credit bureaus and complained again, and they still haven't deleted it. Here's the file. Okay? And then all you do is look up consumer rights attorneys in your area. Okay, so specialized disputes are like removing collections, charge-offs, and late payments. Okay, so for these type of accounts, you will start with a general dispute to the credit bureau. Okay, then if it's with a creditor, let's say it's a charge-off, it's with a creditor, then you'll do a direct dispute with the creditor. If it's a collection agency, you do a debt validation letter to the collection agency. So remember, they have to validate the debt before you can even agree to make any payment or anything like that. They cannot just mail somebody something and say, hey, you owe us $257. For what? I don't even know you. I don't do business with you. How'd you get this debt? How'd you acquire it? What's your license number? Are you allowed to collect in my state? Right? You're going to ask them a boatload of questions. If they cannot answer those questions or provide you with validation of the debt, then they must get the hell out of Dodge. All right. Another thing you can use is the early warning notice. I never received your notice. By law, they're required to tell you when they're putting something negative on your credit report. Okay. Tell them you never got it. I never received the notice. By law, I'm supposed to get a notice that you're placing this item on my credit report. I never got it. So delete. Okay. Paid collections. Paid collections now, it's already paid. So what you have to do is let them know that you don't believe how they're reporting it is 100% correct. So you can't go by the early warning notice and all that other stuff because you already paid it, right? So you do your general dispute with the credit bureaus, you do your debt validation letter to the collection agency. Now you're going to say, hey, I don't believe the way this account is being reported is 100% correct, because 9 times out of 10, there's still some inaccuracy there. Okay. So you're going to scour the credit report, find the inaccuracy, let them know, hey, you're not reporting it 100% correctly. And by law, that's not right. Delete it from my credit report. Medical collections. Okay. If it is with a hospital, doctor's office, or something like that, what I try to do is have the client resolve it with the hospital or the medical office first, if it's a small bill. Because once it is resolved directly with the hospital or medical office, the collection agency can no longer collect on it. It's not a collectible account by law. There can be no collection activity on an account that's been resolved directly with the hospital or the medical medical bill, whoever had it, the account. So another thing you can use here is that insurance paid for it. I don't know where this came from. Insurance covered it, paid it. I don't know where this bill came from. And then next, you're going to find a billing error, right? So somewhere, somehow they made a billing error. It doesn't match your records. So there must be some inaccuracy, and it must be deleted from your credit report. Again, collections, paid collections, medical collections, you can do the same thing. You can complain if they're not Responding, you can do a pay for delete if it's a small amount. Again, you kind of know your client's budgets when you're talking to them, so you'll know when to offer a pay for delete, or you can just straight up ask them. I ask them all the time, and sometimes they'll get a pay for delete offer in the mail. And if you know that it's legit and it's an amount that your client can feasibly pay, I would go for it and recommend them to do a pay for delete, because it's going to be a quicker resolve than going through all the steps if they haven't. So I always try disputing first, because sometimes you get lucky, right? And on the first round, you get some amazing results. If by the second round it's a small bill, like $100 or less or something like that, I would just say, hey, let's do a pay for delete, get a quick win, get it removed from your credit report, and we move on. Okay? You can do a settlement where you're negotiating a payment, and then once they settle that account, you're going to redispute it, because guess what? They're not going to update that new balance. So it's still going to be inaccurate on the person's credit report. A lot of times they don't update the report. Okay? So you redispute based on that new number, and then you should be able to get a deletion there. Okay? And then again, as a last resort, you can go to a consumer rights attorney and sue based on violations. Charge-offs. Charge-offs, you're going to do a general dispute with the credit bureau. All right? Remember, all disputes start with the credit bureau. Right? Your first dispute, remember how we went over it in the beginning, right? Here's some errors you found. According to the FTC and the CFPB, they're supposed to correct them, and you want them to investigate. Second, you want to go to the creditor and dispute directly with the creditor. Let them know, hey, you don't think it's being reported 100% accurately. Can they do an investigation? It's your right to dispute directly with them, all that good stuff. And then lastly, let them know, hey, I didn't get an early warning notice. You're supposed to get an early warning notice regarding charge-offs, letting you know that they're going to place a negative item on your credit report, and simply let them know they never sent it, you never received it, and you want them deleted from your credit report. Late payments. Late payments. Again, you want to dispute with the credit bureaus first. If it is a 30-day late payment only a 30-day late payment. This is not for accounts that got 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. No. 30-day late. You can write a goodwill request letter. A goodwill request letter. And basically in that letter, you're asking for a favor. Hey, creditor, I've had this account for 17 years. And back in 2018, I had a mishap and I missed that one payment. I was out of town and, I didn't schedule the payment on time to make it there. I apologize. But as you can see, I've had a stellar history with your company. I've been on time ever since. And I'm wondering if you would extend this one-time goodwill and delete that one 30-day late payment from my account and update it as pays as agreed. You can even call and try to work this out with the creditor, but a goodwill request letter works for only a 30-day late payment. Okay? And then another late payment strategy is the early warning notice dispute letter as well. You never received the early warning notice. Okay? Student loans, same thing. You want to do a general dispute with the credit bureaus, and then you can also go to the creditor who has a student loan, dispute with them and let them know that the account is not reporting 100%. You need them to investigate and update the account to reflect what it's supposed to. Okay? So remember, anything on a credit report can be disputed. Same thing here. If they are not removing those inaccuracies, they're not responding, they're not removing those errors, you complain. Complain to the FTC, the CFPB, the Attorney General's office, everywhere you can. You could do a settlement if the client has it, and then redispute with the credit bureaus because that information will not be up to date. And then you can also take it to a consumer rights attorney and sue based on violations. If you're able to list the violations clearly and have your file neatly organized of the steps you took, You should be able to hand it over to consumer rights attorney, and they'll be able to take over the case and get your client some damages. And it's usually $1,000 in damages, okay, for those violations. Repossessions, same strategy. Dispute with the credit bureau, go to the creditor who has the account, and then you want to review the repossession laws in your state or that client's state. Like, what does the law say? Does it say they have a time period to get the car back before they could put the repossession on their credit report? Does it say there's a certain amount they have to pay? Like, what does the law say in that particular state that, you know, warrants a repossession and how it's reporting on the credit report? So go over those laws. I always, you know, when I get a repossession, I look them up and see, you know, what variations and what transpired and what happened that shouldn't have happened, compare that, and then that usually gives you your out for the deletion off the credit report. And then here you can use the early warning notice dispute again. They didn't let you know that it was going on your credit report. By law, you're supposed to be notified, and you were not notified. Inquiries. Inquiries are funny. They are pretty much going to tell you it's a record. Unless they are like 2 years old, when you see that, you can easily dispute those because they're 9 times out of 10, they don't dispute them on their own. I mean, they don't erase them on their own. So when you see one that's over 2 years old, because that's the time frame allotted for hard inquiry to remain on a credit report, 24 months, you can dispute that for removal. Soft inquiries do not affect the credit report. That's when a client is looking at their own credit report or credit card company is snooping into their credit report to see, you know, what's going on and things like that. Those do not count against them. Only the hard inquiries and inquiries within the past 12 months are the ones that are calculated into the score. Anything over 12 months is not calculated into the FICO score. If an account reappears on a credit report, if it got deleted and it came back, the 5-day rule applies. They are supposed to let you know within 5 days that they're reinserting an account onto your credit report. Do they do this? 99.99999999999% they do not. This is how you get the item deleted. As for deletion, I was not notified within 5 days that this account was going to be reinserted onto my credit report. Delete it. If they don't delete it, you complain right away. Don't even do anything else. You go straight to the complaints. Okay? Public records are like bankruptcies, judgments, and tax liens. The credit bureaus get this information from third parties. They don't get this information directly from the courthouse, okay? And they tell you that they do, but they don't. The courthouse is not a subscriber to the credit bureaus, okay? They do not furnish information to the credit bureaus. And so information like Pacer or third parties like Pacer, LexisNexis, and third-party contractors offer this information because they're paying for it, okay? They're paying for this information. So what you want to do is freeze these credit bureaus. So there's LexisNexis, there's Innovis, and there's SageStream. Okay? LexisNexis, Innovis, and SageStream. You want to freeze those credit reports in the beginning of the process before you send out those credit bureau disputes. Freeze those bureaus because that's where they're getting this information from. So you freeze LexisNexis, you freeze Innovis, you freeze SageStream, and it will limit their contact to be able to verify some of this information. So first, you're going to dispute with the credit bureau, okay? Second, you're going to send a letter to the courthouse. Now, I'll provide you with this letter as well. You're going to send a letter to the courthouse, and you're going to ask them, do they furnish information to the credit bureaus? Yes or no? You're going to make it very easy for the courthouse to fill out this information because they're busy. They don't have time to get involved in our mess. So you're going to make this form very easy for them to fill out. Yes or no? Check here, right? At the bottom, you have a representative sign it. And then you send that letter in to the credit bureau on your next round. Hey, you said that such and such courthouse furnished this information. I contacted this courthouse and they informed me they're not a subscriber to your credit bureau. They do not furnish information to the credit bureaus and they do not verify information with the credit bureau. So where did you get this information from? Attached is the letter from the courthouse that says they do not verify information with you. Please delete this inaccurate, unverifiable information from our credit report. So you got the proof from the courthouse, okay? Bankruptcies. Bankruptcy, the way you're going to dispute a bankruptcy is the way that it's reported. They are supposed to report exactly the name of the courthouse with no abbreviations, okay, whatsoever. They cannot put U.S. Bank Court, right, with abbreviations. It has to be U.S. Bankruptcy Court of Greenbelt, Maryland. U.S. Bankruptcy Court of, wherever it's located with the full city and state. If that is not listed, it's inaccurate. Okay? The file date needs to be accurate. The docket number needs to be accurate. The amount needs to be accurate, right? What type of bankruptcy was it? Needs to be accurate. Was it Chapter 7, Chapter 13? Is that correct? Right? Find any little thing wrong with that reporting and you're going to dispute that bankruptcy notation. Also, any accounts that were included in bankruptcy must have the notation on there, the item was included in bankruptcy. It must have that notation on there and they must have a zero balance. So you want to go over the credit report and look for that as well. If an account was in bankruptcy, it must say that it was in bankruptcy and the balance must be zero. Otherwise, it's inaccurate. Okay? So for judgments, you want to get a copy of the judgment to review it, okay? A lot of times there are so many inaccuracies just based off of comparing the judgment to what's on the credit report. Okay? So you want to look for the docket number, the file date, the amounts, all that good stuff. And if it doesn't match up, you can get that removed. For federal tax liens, you probably know this, Julia, but you want to do a general dispute, and then you want to notify the client to look into the Fresh Start initiative. A lot of places have that program if it's $25,000 or less. Okay, all they do is apply, and they'll come back with a letter saying that they've been approved, and they will help with that being vacated from your credit report. Okay, so if you get approved, if it's less than $25,000, they can apply for that program in their state.
So I want to also give you an FYI. So there's a law that's been implemented. If you owe $25,000 or more and you've been grossly negligent in not paying your taxes, they have a right not to renew your passport.
Passport? Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But if it's over $25,000, they'll definitely tell you need to pay down that balance. So some people will need to bring that down before.
Yeah, you would have to get approved to show that you are current and that you have a payment plan in order for them to lift it off. And then you have to pay an additional fee to have it reinstated in addition to the passport fees. Yeah.
See, good to know. But this has worked several times for my clients. So it's something that, if somebody's going through, you definitely want to walk them through that.
Okay.
And the application is pretty simple. Here's the process right here. You locate the tax lien on the credit report. If they can pay it in full, that's perfectly fine, or they're making payment arrangements. the IRS will release the tax lien. You're going to apply for withdrawal form 12277. They'll send a copy of a form 10916C to the credit bureaus. They're also going to send a copy of the form to the client, and you want to take it upon yourself to send that to the credit bureaus as well, just in case they didn't send it in, right? Or somehow it got lost. You want to be sure you follow up, get that sent in so that it can be taken care of. Okay? So that's something that's really helpful with people with this problem, because a lot of people just don't know and they probably don't want to deal with it themselves. So that's something that's very helpful for people in that situation. State tax liens, you want to stick with factual disputing. Just stick with the facts. Like I said, anything on a credit report can be disputed if it's factual disputing. Not as many programs for Fresh Start Initiative for the state tax liens. It's more so for the federal. You can definitely ask, but it's more so for the federal. Right, Julia?
New York State is having one too. It had like a forgiveness kind of thing moving forward, and they'll remove some of the late fees. So it's kind of similar to it. But if you miss a payment, they are suspending your license. It's bad. They make it really bad. They're just as ferocious as the federal government.
They're serious. Okay. Here's how we're going to dispute the public records. Okay. Dear Credit Bureau, so this is letter 1, general dispute. Remember, we're just going to take it nice and easy. I need some help if you don't mind. Check out these issues below. You're going to list the account name, the account number, the reason why you're disputing, what you want them to do. I just noticed that when I pulled my credit report, I've not pulled my credit report in years. Can you help me with this? I don't know how your company processes complaints from consumers, but can you please fix this problem ASAP? I'm counting on you to help me with this. Question, how long will it take? Someone said 30 days. I also read that on the internet. Can you please fix this? Thanks. So again, we're acting like kind of clueless, but we're like, you got 30 days to fix this, right? So that's how you kind of want to keep it simple. And again, guys, we want to, switch it up a little bit. You don't got to use it word for word. Like sometimes when I'm in a zone, I'm just like, oh, let me say this. So once you get the hang of it, you should be able to write a letter within 10 minutes. Seriously. Because it's not rocket science. As you can see, I'm talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking loosely. As long as the most important part of this letter, half of this stuff they don't read. I'm gonna be honest with you. Especially that beginning part. You want to keep that as simple as possible. It should not be more than a paragraph in the beginning. Maybe 2 lines. 2 or 3 lines. Like, don't get too crazy with it because they're not reading it. Focus on this middle part right here where it says account name, account number, reason, and what you want them to do. That's the money, but that's the golden part. If you can locate the error and show them what's wrong with the account and you tell them what you want them to do, that is the perfect part of the letter. And then at the end, hey, investigate. They're not reading all this other stuff. They know they got 30 days. Like, seriously, we're just reiterating it, but they know. So, don't make it more difficult than it has to be. Letter 2, again, we're going back to verification, method of verification. I sent a letter to the furnisher disputing the account listed below. I even get more specific. I say, I sent a letter to the courthouse that you mentioned furnished this information. So I get real specific. I have not heard back from them, but they have verified the account is accurate. But you have verified the account is accurate. Okay? Can they do this? Verify an account without providing me with proof that they're reporting 100% accurate? I'll be sending all letters to my attorney for review to see if anyone violated the law. Know your company verified the above account. Send me all of the information you use to verify the above account so my attorney can review it for any violations. So you're putting them on notice. Like, look, I kind of know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and send it over to my attorney and let him see if there's any violations. Okay, 15 days should be enough. Whenever you're asking for method of verification, 15 days is the time allotted for that. So that's why we always say 15 days should be enough when you're asking for method of verification, because they're just sending you the procedures. Okay. I and my attorney await your response. So again, we're letting them know, hey, we kind of have somebody on the side waiting to get jiggy with it if you guys don't do what you're supposed to do. Okay. And CC, FTC, and CFPB. So you want to get a little bit more, I don't want to say rah-rah, but you're going to be a little bit more straightforward with these. Okay, so here's the letter you're going to send to the courthouse. After you disputed with the credit bureau, here's the letter you send to the courthouse. I actually send this out right away because I want this letter back quickly. You're not disputing anything. I want this answer on deck by the time I'm sending out my second round letter, right? So I send this immediately, right? As soon as I see a judgment or bankruptcy or something like that, I send this letter to the courthouse immediately. All right. I'm inquiring on whether or not you furnish information to credit bureaus and if you verify information with the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus claim that you furnish information and you verify information with them. It's my belief that this is not accurate. My research keeps finding that the credit bureaus receive their public record information from sources like LexisNexis. So I'd like to know the procedure you follow when furnishing information which is reported to the credit bureaus, as well as your method of verification. I'm not looking for information on how to dispute erroneous items on credit reports, because they will send you that. Nor am I concerned with how long items listed on my credit report must stay on. They'll tell you that too. I'm only requesting information regarding your procedures for sending and furnishing information to the credit bureaus and verifying that same information. Thank you so much for your time and assistance. It is appreciated very much. I'm going to give you another variation of this letter to make it a lot easier for the courthouse to respond. So what you're going to do is you're going to print the letter, and you're going to address an envelope to the client with a stamp on it, okay? And put that inside of the envelope that you send to the courthouse. So when they give you their response, they send it in that envelope already stamped and addressed to the person. Remember, you want to make it as easy as possible for them to get you this answer back, because they are busy. And like I said, they don't have time for our nonsense, right? They got other things to worry about. So make it as easy as possible. So address an envelope with the client's name on it, right? Coming back to them with a stamp, and you're going to put that inside the envelope that you're sending to the courthouse, right? I've addressed the envelope here for you. Boom. Makes it easier for them to get back to you. So I'm going to give you another variation of this letter right here. It's not even going to be formatted like this. It's literally like check here, and sign. Because remember, you want something on their letter. You want something signed from them saying that they verified they don't do business with them. All right. So that's what you're going to send to the credit bureau. So I need to make a note to send you guys that. Then you're going to go back and redispute with the credit bureau, like I said, and include a copy of the court letter. Hey, you said you verified these accounts with the court. Guess what? I contacted the court and they said they don't verify public record information with the credit bureaus. Please see the attached letter from the court. Because you failed to properly validate the inaccurate information listed above, and the court clearly stated they don't verify information with the credit bureaus, you must delete this inaccurate information ASAP. If you choose not to act, I will have no other choice but to file complaints with the Better Business Bureau and the CFPB regarding this matter. Point blank, period. See how easy that is? Right? So you don't even have to play around with them. You don't do what you're supposed to do. I sent you proof. All right, I'm just going to go file a complaint. Please do the right thing, as this inaccurate information is hurting my chances of getting approved for things in life. Okay? Short sales. So that's how you guys want to write. So, don't take it so seriously, guys. Like, you should just be writing just from here, right? Put the facts in there. Let them know they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do, and that's it. Short sales and foreclosures, you're going to get letters for that as well. The act that allows you to even dispute these are the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. What you want to do here is find inaccuracies with the amounts and things like that. That's what's really going to help you here. If there's any late payments leading up to the short sale, dispute normal inaccurate information and the notice of error dispute. So if they didn't send you that notice, you want to use that as a dispute letter. Foreclosures, again, same thing. If the client has the paperwork, just examine the paperwork for errors and you match it to the credit bureaus. That's it. That's really the bulk of what we're doing, is we're matching, information. Does this match with this? Did you say this and who said that, right? If the credit bureau doesn't say the same thing as the paperwork, they're inaccurate, okay? So here you can dispute directly with the creditor for foreclosures, and you can file a notice of error or information request. Now, what this does is you have the right to request information, right? So by requesting that information, that gives you the chance to review that documentation and find the errors. And then if you find any errors in the billing history or the payment history, then you can dispute that. Okay, so if there's some type of payment, someone said you missed a payment here, but you could find it in the records, that's an inaccuracy. Though a lot of things will come up as far as errors go. So when you want to dispute, there will be a specific address you have to send it to, and usually that's in the monthly statement or in the coupon book that they send the client to make their payments, or the servicer's website. Or you can call them to verify, because it's not going to be just a regular address, right? Usually on the monthly statement, it'll say, if you ever want to dispute a billing error or something like that, use this address here, okay? So it'll usually be on the client's monthly statement or in their coupon book where they make their payments, or on the servicer's website. Okay. A short sale is going to be the same 5-step letter that I showed you guys. The general dispute here, you found some errors. You have a right to get them fixed. You read that on the website. You hope it can get fixed soon. 2 is your method of verification. Same thing. How did you verify? Here is the notice of error dispute letter I was telling you about. Okay, this is the letter you want to send here. It's a pretty long letter, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you have a copy of this in your dispute library. Okay, but what you want to pay attention to is here is that you're disputing the validity of the current debt that they claim you owe. You want to conduct a complete exam, audit, review, and accounting of the mortgage loan from its inception until the present date. So you want to take a look at everything, okay? And while you are looking at this information, you're telling them that you want them to refrain from reporting any negative information to any of the credit reporting agencies until they fully responded to this request. So this is how you could get a quick deletion, okay? Because you're letting them know, hey, there may be an error. I need to take a look at this, but you can't go telling people about, this bad account without verification of this account, okay? So that is what the notice of error dispute letter is. Then you can also use the information request letter. This works as well. So you're asking for a bunch of information, right? And if they don't supply it, they have to remove the account from the credit report. Then you want to go back to your regular scheduled program with the credit bureaus and say, hey, the creditor did not validate, right? They didn't validate this account. How can you verify if the creditor could not validate it? Something's going on here. Okay? I think we all know this. We went over this before. When you're mailing in your dispute letters, you always want to send the appropriate documentation. I will also provide you a list of what each credit bureau lists are for appropriate documentation, but you want to send a copy of a driver's license, a social security card, and a current utility bill or bank statement. That'll be the proof of address with each dispute letter. Okay, it'll slow down the likelihood of the credit bureau sending you stall tactic letters and frivolous letters requesting more identification documents. Never, never, never sign the letters. Do not put a signature on the letters. When you're typing it, you just type the name. Do not sign them. what they do is they take that signature and put it on certain documents to show that there's validation or verification of certain debts. You don't want them stealing signatures, okay? So it's not necessary to sign it to get a dispute through, so don't ever sign them, okay? If they don't have a driver's license, they can use a passport. If they don't have a social security card, they can use a W-2 or 1099 with their social security number on there. And there are other forms of proof of address that they accept as well. I will give you that full list. But again, you want your client to send over a clear color copy so that once you print it out, it still has a good quality to it, okay? Here are some fax numbers. We'll probably have to do some research and get some new fax numbers because they change them all the time, like all the time. But these are some fax numbers if you want to do dispute sending via fax. Like the personal information updates can be sent via fax. But again, like I said, I always do them via mail and get good results anyway because I just can't deal with the fax. We know about the credit bureau's super scanner computers, right? We talked about eOscar, OCR, right? Optical character recognition is where they recognize those boiler template letters, right, that we're writing and sending over, and it gets thrown into a separate pile. They barely do an investigation. You don't want that happening. Okay. There are some things to the credit bureaus, right? They have stall tactics. You must communicate this with your clients in the beginning. When they sign up, let them know. It is likely for you to receive these type of letters. The credit bureau comes back and say, hey, this is frivolous or it's irrelevant, or you didn't provide sufficient information to investigate, or your ID, you didn't send in the proper ID and you know you did. It's just a stall tactic, okay? Because they don't want to do the investigation and they don't want to remove the negative information, okay? So let them know that up front so they don't feel like you did something wrong or that the process isn't working or to feel discouraged, because it's easy for them to feel discouraged. They've been living with bad credit for a long time, okay? However, there is a section of the FCRA that states credit bureaus may terminate a reinvestigation if they feel the dispute letter is frivolous or irrelevant. That's why, one, you want to write a bomb dispute letter using your own language, right? Everyday language, common terminology. And two, you want to specify the error, the factual dispute of that account. Why shouldn't it be there? Right? So you want to provide enough information for them to investigate. Don't give them any excuses to not do what they're supposed to do. Okay? Some of them will not respond within the 30 days. I say 40 to 45 days whenever I talk to a client, because again, you have to allow about 5 days to get the letter there, 30 days for them to investigate, and then another 5 days for the letter to come back with a response to the client. Okay, so you want to give them an extra 10 days if you don't see a response after 30 days, just for that reason. Okay, if they don't respond after 30 days, you can send them a follow-up letter. Say, hey, according to the FCRA, you're supposed to respond and investigate this account within 30 days. I haven't received anything. I'm asking for these accounts to be deleted according to the law. Right? Send them a follow-up letter reminding them they have a duty to respond. And you don't even have to wait. If they don't respond and you know it's well overdue over the time, file a complaint with the CFPB at the same time. Remember, you don't have to wait to get results. I'm a little bit more lenient. I don't run to them as much as other people do, but it is definitely something you can do. Okay? Because the CFPB will hold them accountable. Disputes, if they feel they're frivolous, okay? They use this word a lot, but they're just a stall tactic. If they feel like you didn't provide enough sufficient information, you want to change your dispute reason, okay? Send the dispute letter again, change your dispute reason. Remember, we're gonna list 3, 4, 5 errors that we found. Switch up the reason, give another error, and then just go into a little bit more detail. Okay, I made sure this payment posted so that it was on time. So I know, this is inaccurate. Please delete, right? And then file a complaint with the CFPB. Okay, don't let them take control of the situation if you know these are violations. Suspicious, they'll use this word as well. These disputes are suspicious. Okay, sometimes they just will not respond until, after the 30 days. You want to resend your dispute with proof of ID, copy of social security card, current utility bill, because they'll say, oh, they couldn't verify your identity. Well, why not? Like, I sent it. And sometimes you'll be thinking in your head, oh my God, well, did I send it? Or like, what happened, right? But you sent it. So it's just a stall tactic. And then again, you can call them on the phone to validate your dispute. I've done that quite a few times. You can obviously do that for your female clients, not necessarily your male clients, because you don't sound like a man. And remember, you must have their credit report in front of you, because they will be asking you security questions to verify their person's identity. And most of the answers are on that person's credit report, like previous addresses, things for particular accounts, like do you have a student loan with this company, what creditor has your auto loan, stuff like that. And then you can file a complaint as well, because it's not suspicious, right? You sent in the IDs and all that stuff. Get a consumer rights attorney involved, as a last result, but they're there to help you. Sometimes another stall tactic is, we already investigated this item. Okay, so provide some more proof to support the claim. Like if they have a receipt or something like that, change your dispute reason. That's probably the best method there. Dispute more than one piece of information in the trade line. I love this one. So sometimes you want to hit them hard, and so you'll dispute more than one thing. So I'll dispute the open date, the close date, the status, right? And they'll have to update each piece of information. If they don't respond with a response to each thing that I disputed, then that's grounds for removal too. Okay? Again, here you can file a complaint with the FTC, the BBB, the CFPB, at the same time with all the agencies. If they're telling you that they're not reinvestigating, send a copy of your complaints to the credit bureaus, right? So that they know you're serious. And that's when they tend to take you a little bit more seriously. All right. Sometimes they'll tell you the account has been updated. What does this mean? Ask them. What does updated mean? Updated how? What did you update? Please explain this to me. I don't understand this. Repeat your dispute in the follow-up letter, but let them know you don't know what updated means. What part of it was updated? So there's one credit bureau that's been catching on to that, and they've been doing a better job at it. I think it's Experian, where they actually show you what they updated. They'll be like, oh, account history was updated. Date open was updated, right? But the other two doesn't really do that. But you can definitely do a follow-up letter and ask them to explain what does that mean. Because you sent in a specific dispute, they can't just say updated. What did you update? Okay? If they ask for proof of identification again, resend the dispute, send them everything again, and a copy of the letter. And reiterate your dispute again. This is just all tactics that they're using. So don't get alarmed. Don't get discouraged. It happens to the best of us. But again, if you follow the steps like you're supposed to, it shouldn't happen too often. But again, every now and then, probably if they're bombarded or if they, having issues over there, they'll probably throw out some of these style tactic letters. But if you follow the steps, you should reduce that pretty much. If they say your dispute was vague or incomplete, again, like I said, send another letter, give more details, switch up your reason, give more examples in your arguments. Write down exactly what the client told you happened, right? So when you're able to speak more specifically, it sounds like it's the person, right? So when you're more detailed like that, it sounds more real, and they're more apt to be like, okay, this isn't really vague, right? Because you're like, oh, I spoke to Angel over at Capital One, and she told me XYZ. Oh, well, she said she spoke to Angel, then maybe she did call them, right? So when a client tells you that stuff, when you first interview them, you want to take really, really good notes. I always take notes, and I always remember what they say. So I put those in that letter, and that's a good tactic to use on your sales calls. Hey, you know, what I also do is I take down notes on everything you're telling me so that when I'm writing your letters, I can incorporate that story into your letters and get better results and get a better response from the credit bureaus. So they're like, oh, so that's what tells them that you're not writing generic letters, because you're writing down the stories that they're telling you and you're going to use them in their letters. Okay? So you don't want to use legal language, and you want to always send proof of identification. And you don't want to get your disputes rejected. So a lot of people, what they do is they're just sending too many disputes too fast, trying to speed up the process, and it doesn't work like that. If you have a round of disputes out, you have to stop. You cannot keep sending out disputes if you have a round out. And that's why people who come to me after working with someone else, I'm like, do they have a dispute out there? Because then I can't do anything, right? Because that'll get your file rejected and flagged and frivolous and all that stuff, and I don't want you blaming me. Okay, so you want to space out your disputes every 35 to 45 days to avoid this stall tactic, because if they're getting too many disputes with the same accounts and the same person, they're going to reject it. Okay, so space them out and don't go too fast. But the way you can avoid this is put as many disputes in one letter as you can. Some strategies are like, okay, dispute a few, but that drags out the process, right? So I tend to put as many in. I mean, I wouldn't go over like 25, 22, 23 like that, but you can put in 5 to 10 or more, right? You can send in a 4-page letter with a bunch of disputes. That's totally fine, but you don't want to have too many disputes out there at the same time. Okay, here's another stall tactic. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but TransUnion and Equifax are notorious for this. So they'll email the client and say, hey, your investigation has started. Now, what that client will do is they'll click on it and accept it. And now they'll be like, oh, do you want to receive your results online? And the client will be like, oh, yeah, clear. And so now that gives them more time to investigate, and they don't have that 30-day time window to stick to mail you back those results. Okay, so you want to warn your client of that as well. Don't accept online emails for dispute results. Okay, you can also file a complaint if they fail to complete their investigation and deliver your updated credit report within 45 days. Don't be afraid to file complaints with the CFPB and Attorney General's office. But again, Equifax does this all the time. And like, I'll be waiting on a report in the mail, and the client is like, I didn't get it. And I'm like, it's way over 30 days. Like, what's going on? Or way over 45 days. And then the client somehow will be like, oh, I did see this email. I'm like, oh my gosh, did you click to accept the, and they're like, yeah, I didn't. So, you know, you want to be aware of that and let them know not to do that. Okay. Some of the responses that you'll get are either verified and no change, no response at all, account has been updated, or account has been deleted. Okay? Those are some of the responses you'll see on an updated credit report. And that concludes disputing number 1. Any questions? No? No? Huh? Yeah?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right. Okay. That's good. No, it's a lot, but okay.
I think I need to just review over my notes to kind of absorb.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
But right now I don't have any.
Cool. Okay.
But I learned a lot of new things though, like the part about accepting the results online. That I did not know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a great cover up though.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that nugget.
You're
very
welcome.
important.
That's what I'm here for. Cool. So you kind of get the gist of the 5-letter dispute strategy. General dispute, how'd you verify, you met the verification. Hey, credit goes to the creditor, investigate, go back to the credit bureau. Hey, creditor didn't furnish any verification. How'd you verify this? And then, file some complaints. Get all rah-rah. Okay? Cool. All right, I think we're good. So any questions on anything within the past? Anything about your brand, your messaging, your stories, your brand name, your Facebook groups, So I owe you guys the content package, and then I owe you the courthouse letter variation because I want you to use the other one. That one's okay, but again, you don't want them doing a lot of work. So literally, you want them to do like the checkbox one. So I'm going to send you that. And then the tips and stuff, so you guys can start doing that. Yeah.
When is the test?
So I usually give you guys like 3 weeks after it's over, 3 weeks to like a month after it's over to take the test so that you can still go over everything, go over previous lessons, rewatch things, ask questions, study, and then prepare to take the test. So I usually give you a break in between before you take it.
Okay.
So we got 2 or 3 more sessions. Okay.
Okay.
Sound good? Yeah, so I'm not going to just plop you into the test like right after. So definitely give you time to go over your notes and study. I'm going to tell you, it's not easy.
Thanks.
And it's tricky. So, but that's the point. Like, the point is for you to be sharp and know what you're talking about and know how to communicate things to your clients. So, and know when to write what letter and things like that. So that's why it's written that way.
Okay.
Because I remember I got trained like 12, it's been 12 years now. So 12 years ago, right? And I went to a boot camp and I'm like, oh, I know everything. Like I'm the bomb. Like I think I'm just good. I'm like, oh, I'm so good. I'm always studying. I'm always like trying to stay up to date and everything. They gave us a test and I was like, like I failed it. Well, I didn't fail it, but I didn't get anywhere close to what I thought I was going to get. And I was like, but I know my stuff. But it was the way the things were worded that messed me up. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. You know, I can't say it that way. So that's what it teaches you to do, to think, you know, the right way. Because if you say the wrong things, you can end up telling the client, oh, you guarantee something that you're not supposed to. You know what I'm saying? So you're supposed to talk from a perspective of we help you investigate inaccuracies on your credit report and things like that and facilitate the process. Like we're like the mediator, we're the attorney, we're your representative in court, right? We're that. But we cannot literally make those changes because we don't work at the credit bureaus, right? We can't make those changes ourselves. We can't force them to do anything. We are literally the mediator. So that's why it's important for you to know the processes and everything like that so that you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and you don't say the wrong things because they're cracking down on credit bureau organizations. And if your website says the wrong thing or, you know, somebody complains about you saying something or whatever, you know, you can get in trouble. So it's really important for you to follow the right steps. You know, you don't want a client to lose out on $1,000 in punitive damages because you didn't dispute with the credit bureaus first. Right? So you want to know that that's the first step you need to take. You have to dispute with them first. Don't go straight to the creditor. Don't go straight sending the debt validation letter. Okay? So, cool. Next week, we will be going over advanced strategies, advanced dispute strategies. So more disputing. And, go ahead.
I do have a question. Do different package for student loans disputes?
I will send you, so I have letters that are specifically for student loans. And then I also have a student loan guide, or you could call it a guide. And it walks through like people who are eligible for forgiveness. It walks you through a lot of things regarding student loans. So in the dispute letter library that you get, you have specific letters strictly for student loans and the guide. So I will send you that.
Yeah, I have people that call me and says that like the only thing I have going on my, on my report is my student loans. And I've shied away. Obviously, I shied away from everyone. Huh?
That's not what's affecting their score, though, because everyone says that. So
yeah, I'm like, okay. But I feel like they broke and they don't want to deal with me anyway, so maybe I could just smack them an ebook and send them about their business.
Okay.
I don't want to be bothered with those people. Like, I already know, like, you know what I mean?
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. So what I would do,
I can wrap it up like a Burger King Whopper and send them on their way. It'll be a good day in America.
Yes, I agree.
If that's their complaint, then okay, I have a product for you.
That's what
and then afterwards,
my service, my program cannot assist in that area, but what I have is this, and then sell them that. Because I mean, like you said, they're going to be stubborn anyway. The student loans is not the problem, and so your program can't help them.
Okay.
But what I would do is say, is it possible for me to review your credit report so I can pinpoint the exact errors that are damaging your credit score? Word it that way.
Okay.
Because that's really not the problem. It's 85% of the time, it's really not what it is. They just think it is because a mortgage officer probably told them that.
Right.
But they don't look at it like we do. Unless it's like in default or something. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're on there, they're on there. It's not hurting, it's not damaging your score.
Right.
So the first thing to do is get it in a rehabilitation program. After a couple of payments, they'll remove the delay payments and the negative reporting, and then be on your merry way. It's not that difficult, and student loans do not drag down your credit score. So yeah, so you can either do that, sell them the ebook, or you can ask them, hey, is it possible for me? First of all, they shouldn't be coming to you without you looking at their credit report in the first place. I don't do consultations if you don't send me your credit report. Unless you just happen to call me on the fly and I answer, and I'm like, oh, I'll talk to you, but I don't do consultations without your credit report. And you'll get to that place because it's your time. You're wasting my time. I don't know the problem, and this is how I word it. Like, you're not going to have a doctor perform surgery on you before they take an MRI or X-ray, right?
Right.
Like, you need them to know exactly the pinpoint location of what the injury is or where it's located. Like, what if the problem's in your knee and they're operating on your heart?
Right.
That's not the problem. So that's how I word it. Like, hey, it's just like a doctor. They need to do x-rays. They need to do lab tests. They need to do an x-ray. They need to do all that preliminary work before they diagnose you. They're not going to say, listen to your story and be like, oh, you have Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. They're going to be like, let's run some tests. Let's get some labs, take some blood work. We'll get you an MRI, do a CT scan, and then we'll come back with your results. And that's what you do. I need to review your credit report. I need to do an analysis, and once I do your analysis, I'll update you and we'll go over it together and pinpoint the errors that are damaging your credit score, and then we'll be able to devise a plan that'll improve your credit score over the next 90 days.
Okay.
All right. So I don't do all that. I mean, I ask them their obstacles, their challenges, their goals. What do they think is, harming them the most? Just to get their perspective and just to get them to open up and talk, because you want them to do all the talking so you can get to the bottom underlying issue. But you're not doing it for them to tell you what's on their credit report because they don't know. Oh, I had, okay, yeah, that's not it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people would be like, oh, my credit's not that bad. I just had this. And I'll pull their credit report and I'm like, what do you think is going on here? Right? So We're going to read it completely different than they are. So you must require them to sign up for monitoring, send over their information, you pull their credit report, you review it and analyze it before you do their consultation. That's why that sign up form, that questionnaire in your consultation is so important. You don't want people just jumping on the phone with you, taking over the call.
Right.
You need to know their credit situation before you get on the phone with them. I see you have, about 4 collections, a couple of charge-offs, and that's something my program can definitely take care of. With my 5-step formula, we'll be able to identify this, and then we'll be able to do this. And then as a last step, we'll be able to add some positive credit so that you can quickly boost your credit score and be able to achieve that goal of home ownership. Right? That sounds a lot better than, you say you have this, but I'm not really sure. How, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be very unsure how you can help them if you don't know the problem.
Right.
And you're not going to be able to help everyone. Everyone is not a client. There's a guy that came to me and he had maxed out cars and he was coming to me for help. I can't help you. There's no negatives. There's no late payment. There's there's nothing on his credit report. And he came to me for help. I can't help you. So what I did was, you are not qualified for my program, but what I can recommend, because his score was still like a 700 or close to it. I said, go to your local credit union and ask them, what is the likelihood of you being approved for a loan or a credit card? Which one has the lower interest rate? Apply for that. Use that money to pay off all your credit cards, and then you'll have one monthly payment, and it'll be lower than what you're paying across the board. He gave me like the best testimonial because it worked, but I didn't do anything for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're not going to be able to help everyone, but we have to know the problem in order to do that. So he came to me for my help. If I would have took his money, we would have been at a loss. I would have had to refund him because once I pulled his credit report, I saw the problem. It was just maxed out cards.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need credit repair. He needs to pay down his balances to increase his utilization. And then that helped him reduce his monthly payments and reduce his interest rates, and he could breathe a little bit more because now he had one payment, one interest rate, which wasn't so high and wasn't killing his pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we have to take control and be like, look, we have to dissect the report so we can get to the root of the problem, right? And be able to diagnose you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I think you're good at what you do.
Why, thank you. Thank
I'm the best.
Well, I would hope so. I've been doing it for 12 years. I will hope I know a little something. But
Wow.
I've always had like that teacher nature in me. Even as a young kid, like I was tutoring everyone in my family at a very young age. I was like taking tests and, for other people and stuff like that. So that's just always been in my nature. But then coupled with the knowledge I've learned over the years and just like trial and error and just study, taking classes and all that stuff, now it's just like second nature.
Look, you got it. Because you got me hooked after our first phone call. And here we are, how many months later?
I remember our call like it was yesterday. And LaKendra came in, and it's kind of both ways. Yours was more so our call, but LaKendra is more so the challenge that she took. But it was the same thing. It was my teaching style that, I went into like full detail, because a lot of people in their challenges, they don't go as deep as I did.
No.
And what I do, and this is what you guys should do too,
Mm-hmm.
research. It's called research your competitors. So what I do is I sign up for other people's stuff. I go to their challenges. I sign up for their email list to see what type of emails they're sending out. I sign up for their workshops, their trainings. I get on their lives, see what they're talking about, research your competitors, and guess what? You do it better. Fill in the gaps, fill in the holes, and you do it better. And that's what I do. I mean, my stuff is already better, but you got to.
I stopped because it was a nightmare. Because remember this one lady I told you, she was de la ghetto, PhD in ghettoism. She was great, but I just couldn't stomach her. And I'm crazy. So if I can't stomach her, she was really bad. I said, oh no, Houston, we got a problem. I can't.
And that's another thing as well. You're gonna find that too, because you're not gonna mesh with everyone, and not everyone's gonna mesh with you. So that is a big thing as well. And I have a lot of people that come on my live trainings and tell me that they're like, "Oh my gosh, you speak so well," and I'm like, "So there's people out here just being ghetto." Like,
no, like she had shades on our Zoom call. She was like, "Cause this is how we gonna do it." I said, "Oh, bad connection." I couldn't. Yeah, she wears fur coats.
You know, some people have that arrogant, like, I know everything, and you know, you can't tell me nothing, and I made this amount of money, and
she was driving in her Porsche. She had a fur. She had a shave, like she was Mary J. Blige. Like, just
stop it.
If I'm lying, I'm flying, and I will send you her Instagram, and you will see it for yourself. Okay, Honey Boo Boo got it going on. It's just not going on for me. It's just, yeah.
I could never. See, I'm not a flashy person to begin with. I'd rather have it in my bank account, and I'd rather have it up here. You know what I mean?
She did one of these numbers. She was like, "How you doing?"
No.
I'm not lying. Oh no, I have no reason to lie because I don't remember anything. You know, I have to take down notes, ma'am. What's her name again? What is her name again? What? Oh my gosh, what's her name again? I'm gonna give you her name. No, I'm gonna give you her name. I'm gonna give you her name.
Yeah, no. When you're dealing with something so sensitive, and this is something you got to take into account as well. When you're dealing with something so sensitive, people's finances and people's social security number, you have to be polished, right? You have to. I mean, not to say you got to be stuck up or anything, because that's not me. I don't think any of you guys could ever say you got that feel from me. But you got to be polished. You know what I mean? Like, you're dealing with something serious, something that's precious to people, something that they're already timid about not sharing, right? So you want to have a floor or a platform where you're able to get them to open up, even to talk to you about it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important. So I could never. How you doing? No. No.
Yeah.
And see, that's how. And so here's the thing, LaKendra. Like, when I got on the phone with Julia, we weren't even on the call to discuss this program.
No.
But when you talk to your people, you know what they need just by listening. So I listened to everything she was talking about, and everything was more so business, income, yes, right? So I'm like, okay,
right,
we can fix two things with one stone, and that's my coaching program. So now I can offer her what she needs, not what she came to me for, but what she needs.
Yes.
Right? So this is going to be more beneficial to her in the long run rather than anything else she could have came to me for.
Right. Oh, and it's definitely beneficial. So her name is Maserati Tanish.
Oh my God. Okay. That says it right there.
And her handle is Credit Medics.
Credit Medics?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta see this.
Medic?
Credit Medics.
You know I'm looking.
Oh, so okay.
She'll be in her bathrobe and she'll be ripping people a new one on live. She gives good information. I just can't. And it's not anything of me being bougette or whatever, right? Because, like, who doesn't go to a Chinese store for Chinese, chicken wings and fried rice, whatever, at 2 a.m? I do, whatever. But she's much. I can't. But she's on the radio, on a weekly radio in Philly. She has a good following. And people gravitate to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, some people are for some and some aren't.
Yeah, but after my call with her, I was like, oh my God, I just lost a whole bunch of money. Like,
oh my God.
Because I had to pay her for the call, and I have to pay her more than to speak with one of her, like, her other reps. She has a price point if you speak to someone in her office versus if you speak to her, which is fine.
Oh,
she has
no.
Yeah,
a lot of people do that. Yeah, a lot of
I
people.
mean, her business is scaled up, so she should be able to do that. I don't have anything wrong with that. But if I knew that that was the experience I was going to get, I was mortified.
Yeah.
And I made an appointment with Stephanie. I was like, oh my God, she's the only person that makes sense on this stuff. Like, okay.
And that's what I'm telling you, how all of that stuff matters. That's why we started with what? Branding. That's why we started with messaging. That's why we started, right? So you're not going to be attracting somebody that you know is not going to be, you know, good for you. And if you get on the phone with them and you see that, you redirect the call, right? So wow, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh, I could never do that, but you know,
if you look at her lives, her stuff, like with her, you have to chew the meat and spit out the bones.
Oh my God.
Literally. Like for me, I have to chew the meat and spit out the bones. Like I can't spend no more than 20 minutes listening to her before I just go astray. Because if I see another one of those big glasses, a Mary J. Blige glasses, I'm going down. Like, where are you going? You're not a celebrity.
I actually see that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is so funny. Okay.
All right, you guys, I gotta go get my son ready for school tomorrow.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Thank you all so much.
I'm glad I was able to make you giggle.
Yeah, I will see you guys next week. Next week is my birthday.
Oh, you're an August baby. Hey, I hope you're doing something nice.
Well, I'm going to Japan, so like that's kind of part of it. But I don't know. Maybe I'll do something small. Okay. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, guys. Have a good night, and I'll see you next week. And I'll send you guys a replay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.